Hello friends, welcome to Nan Academy. My name is Prabhat. I welcome you to the second lecture. This is the continued lecture of the last video. In the last video I was telling you guys on section 9. Close the door. I was teaching you guys on section 9. So, in the last, I remember that I told you guys that I'll be going deep into the questions of caste questions. In the last class, I told you that suit relating to caste, a caste question will not be coming under a civil suit. But there are two things in the caste question. Okay? This thing only I was going to continue, but from this video only I will continue the caste question. I will go more into it. But before that, let's take a recap on what all things I told you in the last class. So I told you guys that section 9 is the declaration of the fact that a court is bound to accept a suit if it is a civil suit, or if it is in the nature of a civil suit. Plus, it is not, what's the limitation? It is not barred by any express or implied law. So, these two things, if get satisfied, the court is bound to take the jurisdiction. Okay? So, civil word is there. What's the meaning of this word civil? Ubi jus ibi remedium. From the perspective of section 9, this jus should be a civil jus. Where there is a right, there is a remedy. Okay? So, however ridiculous the claim be, court cannot say that you don't have the right to sue unless and until it is debarred. Okay? So let us discuss now the nature and the scope of this section. Nature and scope of this section. I'll tell you one case law. The name of the case law is, first of all, nature and scope. Scope, nature and scope means on what all things section 9 is applicable. This is very easy. Nature and scope of section 9. What is it? That one is positive nature, second is negative. Okay? Positive means declaratory fact that the court has, section 9, first para of section 9. The court shall have jurisdiction to try all suits of civil nature. This is the gateway. This is the positive thing. And unless and until the cognizance is either expressly or impliedly barred, this is the negative thing. Okay? So this opens the gateway, okay, widely, and this is restricting. What is that which is restricting? Expressly or impliedly bar phrase. This phrase, expressly or impliedly barring the cognizance, is the restrictive nature. And this is the scope. Scope, what's the scope? Civil suit. Suit of civil nature. This is the scope of section 9. Court can take the cognizance of the cases of suit of civil nature. In the last class I told you what is suit of civil nature and what is a civil case. If the primary question is of a civil nature, of a civil right, if there is an infringement of civil right, there is the issue over a civil right, This is a civil suit, pure civil suit. And what is suit of civil nature? If there is primarily an issue over a civil suit, but in order to adjudicate upon this issue, we have to go on some religious or social issues also. We have to adjudicate on those issues also. This doesn't make our suit not a civil suit or not a suit of civil nature. Still our suit is a suit of civil nature. I told you 3 points in the last video. That is a pure suit of civil. It defines purely the suit of civil nature. Okay? Now when we read that the court shall, this was the nature and scope. Okay? Now the second thing. The court shall have jurisdiction to try all suits of a civil nature. What is the meaning of this shall? What is this shall? That if this is mandatory for all the courts to have jurisdiction, to exercise jurisdiction when 2 things are satisfied. First, suit of civil nature. Second, is not either expressly or impliedly barred. The court is bound to take the jurisdiction. This is the meaning of the word shall. Okay? Now I would like to tell you is that go and read little 1 or 2 definitions of this word civil. Okay? Also refer to the civil proceeding written under Article 133 of the Constitution. What is the civil proceeding? Okay? It will help you in understanding the laws, in understanding the concepts. Okay? Civil is nothing but anything which relates to a citizen individually. A civil right. What is a civil right? A right is a right. Okay? What one has any benefit of a person, and anything which benefits a person, he has a right to do that thing. Okay? So, right, mainly 4 things are there according to jurisprudence. Claim, liberty, immunity. One more thing is there. Claim, liberty, immunity, liability. Yeah. Claim, liberty, immunity, liability. These 4 things of rights. So, which one of these is civil? It's very easy to understand. Okay. A civil rights arises from a private agreement. When 2 people agree among each other to do something or to not to do something, there arises a contract and a duty on each other. So this was a recap of whatever I told you in the last class. I told you nature and scope. Okay, for the purpose, shall I told you. Second thing was shall. Okay, shall, it makes the section 9 mandatory for the court to take jurisdiction. Okay. Now the third point is, what's the purpose of section 9? The purpose of the section 9 is to enforce the remedy through the mechanism given under CPC. Okay. If there is some right, then a person has to get his right enforced in the case of infringement. So for this purpose only, to get his right enforced, section 9 is there. Okay. Now, as I told you, the last thing which I was going to tell you in the last video was caste questions. Okay, caste question, guys. There is 2 perspectives of caste question. First, if one person is deprived of any social gathering or of any social dinner, okay, because of his expulsion from caste, what right he is deprived of in this example? I told you this example in the last class. Is there any civil right? No. Is this right recognized by any law? No. Therefore, if there is infringement of such right, there is no infringement of a legal right. And unless and until there is infringement of a legal right, cause of action will not arise. Okay? So, there are two perspectives from expulsion from caste. One perspective is expulsion from social privileges. Expulsion from caste. There are two perspectives. One is exclusion from social privileges. For example, dinner. Okay? Like I told you, no cause of action because this is not a legal right. So no civil suit. The suit will not be of a civil nature. Okay? And second is same thing only, exclusion from caste. Exclusion from caste. If because of this exclusion one is deprived of his right to livelihood, then one is deprived of his legal right, isn't it? If because of this one is not able to earn for his living, one is not able to plow his fields, then a suit will lie for a declaratory, for the right to property, right to livelihood, because here there is infringement of legal right. That's why explanation 1 is saying, if there is a question of right to property and this question has to be solved irrespective of the fact that we have to go into some social issues also, it won't make any changes. The suit will still be a suit of civil nature and the court has power to exercise jurisdiction in such a case. Okay? If this comes in MCQ and there are two options, I'll tell you. If this comes in MCQ and there are two options, that among the following, which one is not a suit of civil nature? One option is this and one option is this. One option is this and one option is this. Until and unless it is written exclusion from caste, which deprives a person of his legal right, until then this won't be a suit of civil nature. Only this is written exclusion from caste. This is not a suit of civil nature. If written deprived of legal right, then only. Okay. This is purely, this is not a suit of civil nature. I'll tell you one MCQ. Wait. Okay, wait. In the end, when section 9 will end, I will ask you few questions. I'll show you some MCQs. Then I'll tell you. Okay. For now, till now, you should understand two things. That expulsion from caste is not a suit of civil nature unless and until a legal right is infringed. Okay. Dinner example is not a suit of civil nature because if one is entitled to dinner, okay, it must be any kind of right, but it's not a civil right. Okay. Exclusion from dinner and one is deprived of his legal right, this is a suit of civil nature. Okay. Here a suit will lie for a declaratory of the right to property, as and other privileges if it's legal, if it comes under legal right. Okay. Now, second thing, suit in which the principal question relates to religious rites or ceremonies will not be a suit of civil nature. This is the very first point which I told you in the last video from explanation 1. Okay? Because court will not go into religious questions, cultures, rituals, rites. Okay? But when I teach you Article 25, I'll tell you that court only goes primarily into the cultural question when a right to worship is infringed, when he sees that without that culture, right to worship will not exist. If the person is not allowed to perform that ritual, his right to worship will not exist. In such cases only, a court goes into the question of rituals. Okay? But this was extra knowledge from the constitutional perspective for section 9. If a question relates to a right to property or to office, what is office? I'll tell you in this video or in the next video. But if the question is with regard to right to property or right to office, and there is also some question of religious rites or ceremonies which is not a primary question, the suit will be a suit of civil nature. The only point, and what I'm again and again saying, is the question primarily should be of a legal right. Okay? Right to property, right to office are both legal rights. Okay? Now, here only I'll tell you what is office. I have much more in the question of religion and all. I have case laws to tell you, but you should, first of all you should know what is an office. What is office? Any office in which a person is duty bound to perform something and where a person can be compelled to perform is an office. LIC office is an office. Okay? Waqf, Muttawali's office is an office. Okay? A Pujari's office is an office. Okay? So, since we are dealing with explanation 1, and this right to office will be a suit of civil nature, irrespective of any religious rites or ceremonies question. What we are inferring now, that here the office is a what question? Purely a right, purely a secular office is an office, and any issue related to a secular office will be a suit of civil nature. But here, what explanation 1 is explaining, that you should not get confused when the question arises for a religious office. Okay? So, here we will understand what is a religious office, because there is no confusion for a secular office. Okay? Religious office. Religious office, as I gave you, for example, if when we enter into a temple, okay, we see a pujari is standing. If you have bought some sweet for the god, then he takes that sweet box from you, put something to 1 or 2 pieces of that sweet into a jar, then return it to you, put a tika on your forehead. Okay, what is he doing? He is performing a duty. Okay, the temple has placed him has employed him to do such and such job. Excuse me. And if that pujari performs this duty for 1 month, and after 1 month he doesn't get any remuneration or salary, whatever was fixed for his doing this particular job, he can sue in the court, the temple. Now the temple trust, or if there is any trustee or anyone, will not say that the suit is not a suit of civil nature because religious thing is involved. No. there is an issue involved with the right to office, remuneration. And here is office. A pujari is performing these things, he is performing through his office only, because two things are involved. A duty is involved to do that particular thing. If one day he won't go, whoever has employed him, he'll pressurize him to perform his duty. He can compel him. There is duty. Okay? I have the right, if I enter into a temple, I have the right to enter into a temple to worship God. Okay? And giving that sweet, all these are what? Duties of a pujari. Okay? So, these kinds of offices, I have more examples, but I'll tell you in the next video. So, religious office. Again, two things are there in religious office. One where fees is involved. One where no fees. Means one where a person is performing and getting paid. Another where person is performing and getting gratuity. Gratuity means whatever one likes to offer. Like for example, if you enter into a temple and you met a pandit, a pandit sitting next to you, saying that, and he looks to you and says that, hey man, your Rahu Ketu is not good. Please do this yagna for 11,000 rupees. Okay, so you go, you make him perform this, and you give whatever you like. Okay, because he was not related to any office. But when you go to a temple, you give that sweet box. That pujari standing in front of the DT and putting you tilak, he is performing under an office. Okay, what he's getting paid for that. What he is doing, he is not getting what in this example, that young guy who told you to do that yagna, what is this gratuity he gets? I won't give him 11,000 rupees. If I give him 2,000 rupees, he cannot sue me in the court. Okay, because he cannot be compelled to perform that yagna. I cannot compel him. Okay, there is no duty on him. He is acting on his own whims and caprice. Okay, no one compelled him to ask me for that yagna. Okay, so many more examples are there, but I thought this is the easiest example for explaining religious office. Also contains two things. Therefore, in one MCQ you will get whether suit for the recovery of gratuity is a suit of civil nature. No, because gratuity is something which a person gives to anyone out of his own choice. Okay, so this was about religious office. Okay, for example, in this fees thing, Qazi, a Qazi who makes to a Qazi who, what does a Qazi do? He solemnizes the marriage between two Muslims. So where if he won't receive any money for doing that, he can sue the person in the court, because his function is attached to an office. Same in the waqf thing also. Okay. What is this fee? Fee, therefore, is a sum which the holder of an office is entitled to demand as payment for the execution of functions attached to the office. Okay. Therefore, suits for recovery of fee attached to an office are suits of a civil nature, but suits for recovery of gratuities are not suit of civil nature. Okay. Two essentials of office I told you earlier. There must be duties attached to it. Second, the holder can be compelled to perform. Okay. There can't be any office if there is Now I want to tell you the case laws on these things, on religious rites and ceremonies, whether okay, and on office. So I'll tell you this about the case law in the next video. Thank you. This next video will be also continuation on this only. Thank you, and please, whatever problems you have, please comment me. In the comment only I will solve your problems. Okay. Please subscribe to my channel and like my video. Thank you.